folks. The Celly Hard podcast is back in action. It's been a little while for me, but it's good to be back, and we are here on the Pull Tab Sports platform, coming to you from the Cub Content Studios. With Winnie Brown, I'm Tom Chorsky, and Winnie, I am pleased to be back. It's funny now, after last time you being a little bit...
I had the cold.
You had the cold. I've got a little bit of the cold, so maybe I'll have to sit this one out a bit and let you carry it. But no, it's fun. I'm glad we're doing this again, and we got to do it more often. But more importantly, I'll let you take over for right now and introduce our guest, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I would like to welcome Kelsey Cline, the standout from Jefferson High School, which is awesome because we got a state high school player here in the podcast. Two-time national champion with the Minnesota
loser.
Gophers. Yeah,
yeah. My percentage could have been 100, but
hey,
cut it down to 50.
Pretty darn good.
Yeah,
it's better than most, right?
That's really good.
And then I had the luxury of playing on the Minnesota Whitecaps with Kelsey, which was a ton of fun. Yeah. And then had the honor of coaching her.
Yeah.
And then coaching with her. And then Muzzy stole her to Ohio State from me.
We'll get into that.
So we'll get into that later.
So coaching her, where did you coach her? That was through OS?
Yeah, through OS and Junior Whitecaps, Elite League. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
So she was one of our little studs. You know.
Well,
I grew up to do big things.
Yeah.
Which is awesome for me as old coach to
see. Well, sometimes we like to hear a little bit about your backstory. You don't have to go year by year, but we were talking about you being from Bloomington and Bloomington Jefferson. I skated at Big a lot when I was younger, but tell us a little bit about your younger years before you got to the U.
For sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. But yeah, growing up in Bloomington, best city in Minnesota, hands down for sure. Bloomington Ice Garden, best rink.
Good rink.
I'll go to my
It
grave with that.
Rink. Yep.
But yeah, for me, grew up, actually started learning to skate figure skating. My mom was a figure skater, and so anyone with young kids, I'd say that's a huge tip. Get them on figure skates.
That's why my boys figure skate.
Yep.
Yeah. No, we want parents. We do want parents to watch this and learn something.
Yep.
We're gonna tell some funny stories, but we want it to be educational too.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. Yeah, so figure skating, that's how I learned. But then had an older brother who played hockey and just wanted to do what he's doing. So switched over. Played boys through squirts. At that time, Pee-wees you could check, so that's when I flipped over. But so then went through the Bloomington system. Obviously, as a lot of people in Minnesota know, if you're a top-end high school kid, a lot of times you have offers to go play other places. But I loved my friends in Bloomington, and I wanted to play with them, so made the decision to stay. And obviously, at that point in time, we were very lucky to have Winnie's summer stuff and that programming. The high school season in reality is so short that a lot of your development's going to come through fall, spring, summer seasons. So I made the choice to stay with my friends and be with them. And obviously it worked great for me being able to earn a spot to play at the University of Minnesota, and was fortunate to have a lot of great teammates there. So yeah, for me, I always loved hockey. I always loved being around the rink with friends. And so when I graduated, I actually worked in corporate America for like 4.5 years and was coaching. I went back and coached at Bloomington for a few years. And then
what were you doing for a job?
Yeah, so I was in airline consulting. So nothing to do with sports, nothing, helping, long story short, we would help both like on the airline side and corporate client side, just essentially helping both sides. Airlines help them make more money and help the business, like corporate clients, save money.
Money.
Yeah, was on both sides of that. And I really liked the strategy piece of it. And I think that's a big thing for me, is I was never a fast skater, so I had to beat people with my brain. When he knows that,
smart.
Yeah, I had to be smart. So made my hockey living being smart. And as I've gotten older, the way I see it and think the game is in a very strategic sense, which off balance as well with our staff, because Muzz is a very likes things fast, likes things so. It's two good perspectives.
Balance. Yes, it's a very good balance
brought together.
You see both sides.
Yeah, yeah. So. After working for a few years, I really liked coaching, and then toward the end of that was starting to help Winnie a lot more. And Yeah, so for me, an opportunity came up where I was starting to go through the process of, can I combine business and sports and have that be my job? And it was a perfect storm where Coach Maz was looking for a coach and ran into her at one of Winnie's Prospects event and was like, holy shit, should we do this? And it was like, okay.
All right, let's do it.
And that was how long ago?
3 years ago. Yeah, this is my third season now at
she
OSU.
went into operations, and she's very smart.
Oh, that's right. You did.
She's not only good, at hockey. She's very good.
She worked in the airline industry,
right? Yeah.
And you were planning their trips and
a little bit.
No?
We've got a.
Oh, you've got
a
someone
trip.
for that.
Yeah, we got lucky.
She's
Ohio
very
State.
mature for her age.
Okay.
Like when you have all those kids that come through your program, you're like, this kid's got the hockey and the business savvy,
Good.
which is impressive at her age.
Yeah. So now I'm doing my MBA at OSU. So
that's cool.
Ultimately, in hockey, I don't know what I'll do, but I think I'll always want to be on the sports side of my career, having
hockey or sports.
I don't know. I mean, I think women's hockey, and we'll talk about it. I think it's still at such
an early stage,
infant
right?
stage, in all aspects, that I think there's so much that can be done, and there is so much that has been done, but it can still take off so much.
For sure.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it exciting, right?
Yeah.
Everyone thinks like everything's moved so fast, but we still have a long ways to go with figuring things out.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought that there had to be a way with streaming to reach the women hockey fans and maybe convert over the male or men hockey fans over to the women's side a little bit if you could. But with streaming, I mean, you can reach hockey fans around the world.
Everywhere now.
So it's not just like, what are we going to do in Minnesota and Massachusetts and, where the women's hotbeds were.
Yeah.
But now with European women's hockey is pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
And you can reach fans everywhere and anywhere. And so why wouldn't Procter & Gamble want to get on that, or Target or whatever brands, Lulu, whatever brands should be getting involved. They just have to figure out how to get that platform out and make it cheap to join, affordable to get the subscription. Yeah. But if there's 50,000 fans around the world and they all pay, $20 a month or do the math.
Yeah. And that's a good point because in those countries it is growing, right? From just a recruiting standpoint. Yeah. From Kelsey just returned from the U18 World Championships in Switzerland. Yeah. And you can, Kelsey, talk a little bit because we were talking before we started here about checking. Yeah. And in the game, how everything's evolving. So the new Women's Professional League that we'll talk about later. Also, they're having checking, and Kelsey can kind of go into that. But in Switzerland and Sweden, they are checking, correct? Yep. Like along the walls. And
was there checking at because you just came from the World U18
girls,
So there's some Minnesota high school girls over there.
Yeah.
Josie St. Martin, who we had last. I can see now why she went to OSU. I don't know if you and Muzz probably recruited her, but I could see she would want to go play, for you and probably for Muzz too. But is there checking going on at that level? Not so much.
No, and so that's the whole thing is so when you mentioned the new pro league, so they are following NHL rules along the walls. So anything that can happen in an NHL can or cannot, right? You still can't board, you can't check from behind.
Right,
But anything on the men's side that can happen along the walls can happen in the new pro league. In Sweden, it's the same rule. So what I saw in Switzerland was a lot of the very top ones. They're playing in that pro Sweden league. Mm-hmm. And so it's the time and space is less because if I don't move it, I'm getting hit.
Right.
Things like
contact.
That. Yeah, the contact. And so those top end European kids, the art of puck protecting or moving, get off the wall, get it back, it has accelerated so fast. And and I think that's where
those kids are probably not handling the puck as much, right? Like, because in the U.S. I see a lot is overhandling the puck. It's like, why are you stick handling right now?
Yeah.
All the time. Like,
well, it's because someone's not going to come
because
take
someone's
your
not
head
going to
off.
hit you.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So
well, just use
that's where
Josie
it
St.
comes
Martin or any of the Minnesota kids. One, they're
that's
not.
why
they're
she's
not,
succeeding out there.
well, they're not hitting. So the U.S. team probably isn't hitting as much.
No, but she plays physical.
She can play physical. Yeah. And she will. She
that
can
is
adapt.
her game.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but she's not. She can go coast to coast in the high school league too. So it's a little different. But they're learning. They get over there. But more importantly, let's talk about how the game is evolving.
Yeah.
To your point, there's starting to be more hitting.
Yeah. And when I was over there, like it all, you're watching and you kind of reflect on everything. And I was saying to Winnie prior to this is when you think back to when Winnie's generation was playing, there was no girls hockey, right? So you're playing boys, right? And so for them, they're fast, they're smart because, again, if I don't move this, if I don't know how to manipulate space, I'm getting my head taken off. And you learn real quick when that happens.
you move the puck.
You move the puck.
Right.
And then we moved into the next phase, which is awesome, where there's a girls' side, a girls' platform, girls can skate with girls, and there's opportunity. But in that, you lost the art of not, again, blowing people up, but the art of physicality and where that exists in hockey. And I think
now it's coming back.
Right. And now we're seeing with, again, the new pro league, the Sweden league, they're allowing checking on the wall where now you have these two eras combining. And again, these are opinions are my own. But that's where the game's going. And I just think if you're not on board for that, you're just going to fall behind. Because, again, that is where it's going, is the hitting on the wall. And I think at the high school level, like Minnesota high school, do you need to teach how to hit and all that? Maybe, but I think college for sure. For sure at the college level, because then what? You're going to go in this pro league.
But are they going to call it in college? Are you going to be in the penalty box all the time?
Well, I think like at the college level, you got to adapt to those same rules the pro league is. Because all of a sudden, if you get thrown into that.
You're suggesting that college is going to have to maybe change the rules a little bit?
Yeah.
I
foresee
I'm fine. That's fine with me.
Right,
I think you should, because if I've gone all this time and I haven't learned how to take the hit, if I haven't learned how to hit, all of a sudden you're going to go to this pro league where they're playing it all the time. And now you've got girls that are 28, 29 years old that
have been hitting.
Well,
they're older.
It's like going from Pee-wees to Bantams here in Minnesota.
Yeah, and I think you're going to have more injury if you don't learn how to do it.
And there is proof that I think girls, because I did play boys hockey all the way till my junior year of high school, that knock on wood, I never got a concussion. Because I was always expecting to be hit all the time, right? So I think a lot of the times is people...
You just didn't go in the corners. And
or you just fake turn, right? I lived off the fake turn and then turn the other way. And then no forward ever stops.
Spin off a hit,
Spin off a hit, right? Because otherwise I'm going into the boards.
Right.
But my point being is it wasn't me. I didn't give hits as much, right? But I was able to take the hit.
Yeah.
Where you brace and it's just
learning to take it.
Learning that body contact.
And I think people too can't just think of hitting as I lined someone up on the wall and I skated full speed and blew them up. It's the angling it out, and I finished that angle, and that's how I got it. You know,
that's smart hockey anyway. I mean, I think even in men's hockey, pro hockey, men's college, I mean, if you're going north to go finish a hit and the puck is already going south, it's typically maybe a waste of your time
anyways, right? Yeah.
Like you need to
learn what you should be doing and not.
Unless you're really trying to wear down a team, maybe, but you're not. It's not an effective play.
Right.
You're not getting the puck already went past you.
Yeah, because your point still is to get the puck.
Yeah. You need to go back and try to get the puck back.
Yeah.
And you're just going to finish your check. But
and I think on the women's side, it gets frustrating for players because there isn't a distinct rule of like it's not allowed, but you can angle, but then you have it's so hard.
And then
to
it's
ref.
size, like if you're 6'1" as a girl and you're hitting someone 5'3", it's you're gonna probably get a penalty versus no, it's just you're that much maybe bigger and stronger. Versus, I think it would help those.
I think it would help the refs.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there's just consistency in it where it's so just their opinion right now, where it's like, well, last game I did that same angle and they didn't call it, and now you're calling me, you know, so
it's frustrating.
Yeah, and in our league, like the WCHA, we are more toward checking, you know, than other leagues, I would say, in my opinion. But even within our own, like we're playing the Gophers tonight, and that is a heavier game, you know, and people like to be physical, and you still get those inconsistent calls where you're like, man, like that just was a good angle and someone fell
for
down.
The D too, right? Defensively, it would help the D so much, right? Because especially with now the kids' hands have progressed, right? So now it's like, well, they wouldn't be able to do that if I could actually play the player like I want to actually play him, right? But it's that physically. In between physically where now you're handcuffing the defender. For me, that was the hardest thing for me to come over from girls is because I'm like, wait, I just stepped on her. Through the hands, and she falls because I'm pivoting, turning, and it looks like it's a check. But it's like
back then it was lighter rules.
And
too.
Maybe I was checking, but
most likely.
That's good. That's good. Well, what's the report? We'll wrap up on the tournament over East, but I think it's kind of interesting the world tournament over there. What were your overall thoughts? What did you see?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. At the U18 level, actually, this year, they did the new format where the top 4 teams were not in the same group. So they switched where number 1 was in Group A, 2 and 3 were in Pool B, then 4 was in with number 1, where it was more divided. Where it wasn't a stacked group versus a non. And I liked it a lot better. I liked that format. I mean, obviously, the 1 seed this year was Canada, and they handled their side pretty well, but they're just a good team. But in that group it was like USA, Sweden, that group, the games were really competitive, and it was fun to watch and not just see every game being a blowout. So I would say my biggest takeaways, obviously, Canada and U.S., they're always going to have a deep pool of kids. But what I find interesting is USA, Canada, they can put together 4 solid lines and 3 solid sets of D pair. But what I see on the European side is their top 1 or 2 lines, their skill and talent is equal to or more than the U.S. Canada. But they just drop.
Don't have as many.
They're just drop. Line 3 and 4 drops.
They don't have the numbers and populations that we do.
But the talent in their top lines
can compete.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, they've got a good development model, right? Like growing up, it's very skill-based.
Very
good training.
In Europe, the top players are playing with boys pretty much until they go into that Sweden Pro League. So those top European players that are high school level, again, are playing with boys. Once they get to that high school age, they're going to that women's pro. So
does that make them ineligible for you guys?
No, because they don't get paid.
They don't get paid.
It's pro league, but they don't take pay.
They don't take pay. Yep. You're allowed to get set up with a place to live, like a billet or whatever, but you just can't accept a salary.
But you can do NIL. So, I mean,
when you get to,
I know. I'm just saying that there's got to be changes coming with all that.
I'm sure.
That's.
I will say the world as we know it will be flipped upside down in NCAA in general. You know, across all sports, and
it already is.
And that's what the thing too. In whether it's hockey in general or women's, what change is inevitable.
Right.
So you can put up a fuss about it. You gotta
keep up with it,
accept it, and let's figure out how to do it in a healthy way rather than fight it off. Because again, change and innovation, it can be a good thing if done in the right way.
Don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. Because it's not going away. Just like everyone's like social media, the internet is not going away.
No.
Right? But you still, as a parent, have to deal with it with your kids.
Right. So on that note, a little bit, and I want you to ask some questions here in a second, but being at Ohio State, which is a huge athletics university, at mostly football and basketball, that NIL stuff has got to be going nuts, right? What do you see in there? Are you guys? Does your staff get called into meetings to understand what the university's policies are, what you can do, can't do.
Yeah.
And then do you have any players that are doing have NIL money?
Yeah. So I would say Ohio State is great at educating.
Yeah.
Because again, it's moving so fast.
And quarterbacks are getting $1 million.
Yeah. More than just the quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, more.
And it's interesting because on the football side, or probably even basketball, for some of them, it's better to stay in college because they would make more money than being on the practice squad
or whatever
NFL
it is.
That's crazy, right?
Absolutely,
That's
So it's like your top 1%, for sure, NFL, you're going to make your money. But like that next tier, it's like, well, I'm better off staying here and getting my NIL than what I would get there. So it is interesting for sure. But yeah, we get a ton of education because legislatively stuff is changing all the time, and, the new NCAA president, again, he's someone that change is coming and we all have to embrace that. And the traditionalists, it's hard for because you like what you're used to, the classic,
College
all
athletics,
of it. Yeah. And unfortunately, whether anyone agrees or disagrees, is the time is moving, and that's where it's like, be with it and be part of creating the rules and the laws. But the more you fight it and try to push it off, well, then it's all these things are going to happen and you weren't part of that discussion. And so I think OSU is really good at taking coaches' perspectives, the admin's perspective, athletes' perspectives, and then when they go talk to Congress and things like that, they've gotten everyone's point of views and how to do it in a healthy way. But yeah, it's crazy that the world as we know will change. And
so that's why you have to let your players do TikToks.
Yeah,
you
have
post
to.
Them.
And there is some NIL rules where, like, when you're on a road trip, there has to be like an hour of time carved for them to do NIL time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't do that in our itineraries because we don't have anyone on that big of deals. But to your question of do we have players? That do it. And
they're earning money. They're getting some sponsors.
Yeah, for people that don't know what an NIL is.
Name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely.
Yeah. So name, image, likeness. So essentially to get money for that, right, you go into partnership with a brand and you have to do something for that brand to get the money.
Right.
So it's not like
you can't just score goals.
Hey, Chipotle, like I'm gonna give Winnie $1 million, and like later on, like you have to do a social media post or be in a commercial or whatever it is. You have to do something to promote them in order to get paid.
And
for
then
that.
do the players come to you and say, hey, I've been approached, or do they come to the team and you go, hey, this brand wants to work with you?
Yeah. So actually what you can do legally within the NCAA is have an NIL agent.
Right.
Right. So some players have NIL agents and that agent will broker the deals for them. And at OSU, we have a NIL department. And so a lot of brands go through the department and then you kind of get paired up depending what the brand's looking for and things, or the agent will find brands and whatnot. From a coach's side, we're 100% out of it. Like we don't do anything with it, but any deals that they have, they report to our compliance office just to make sure it's following all the rules and claiming the money and all of that. So
without saying a player's name, what's a player on your team, or can you say, or does it make sense to tell us like what they're doing? Or
I think you can because
it's public.
They're public.
No, I know, but
they probably want you to.
What's the brand, or what's the product? Maybe not the name brand, or what's
like. Is it a restaurant?
Is it something local?
A lot of restaurants, and they'll pay them in meals.
Okay.
Right, or like the other day, like Bilka and Hadley Hartmut's, like a player cards. A company was making player cards, and they want them to autograph them, so they pay for their autographs. And then
people show up to get them, or no, just it was
just to sign them to then like
get rid
so
of them.
So they can maybe advertise them.
So it's it's a wide array of things, and like for us, like Bilka works with Bauer, so it's a wide array of like restaurants, brand, like
products.
It's really anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Hey, we need as many people supporting women's hockey as we can, right? That's what I say.
Got to
like,
embrace
keep them
it.
coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of products, do you want to do a product? Do you know which one you?
I was thinking we'd do them at the end when she has to leave.
Practice your NIL. See if you can get one.
Well, I'm doing Joe Mama's for sure because Justin just ordered like 2 big boxes of them. It was awesome. But speaking of the NIL, now let's go into another topic of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Because that is a big game changer, probably the last few years.
Yeah.
And then maybe let's start with this class, this junior or senior class is the first or this is the last class that will be having a 5th year, correct? And then
the girls that are seniors
now,
right now,
Yep.
they will have next year. Then the 5th year's older.
Yes. So hopefully
One
that
more
whole thing where kids coming in, seniors now aren't going to be displaced by a class, but this class, senior class, still will be affected by that.
Yeah, and I think an important thing for people, especially if they're watching this, they have high school or younger kids that may not have been involved, but they just saw everything that happened. It's important for them to have backstory on there was a perfect storm of everything at once. So historically, before rules changed, kids could commit to college in 8th grade, which is insane.
7th and 8th, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
insane.
7th grade, yeah.
You probably don't know, but that was our daughter.
Right, yeah.
Ninth grade.
Yeah. And it was like same for us. We were
insane.
like 9th.
It was insane.
9th, 10th.
She's on the phone with
oh my God.
head coaches
right.
before she made varsity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing youth hockey, right.
Playing
U15A.
U15.
Eddie Dinah.
And you're like,
college
she can't even drive a car yet, and she's making a college decision.
Right, yeah.
No, we had to tell the varsity coach before she made varsity.
Yeah.
She's getting calls from Division I programs.
Yeah.
Programs.
Yeah. It's insane. So again, prior, you could call kids at a young age, and then COVID happened, and you had the 5th year. So as that COVID was approaching is when the rule went in that you can't call a kid until June 15th after their sophomore year. So you had kids, right, that were committed to a school for 5 years. They go to their college and maybe they were a different person when they got to college. Right. And we're like, at the time when I was in 8th grade, a small school was awesome to me, and I was scared of the world and whatever. But now I'm 18 and like I'm a different, person. And so it was the combo of kids committing early that maybe they didn't have all the education in their decision
or maturity.
And then coaches committing a kid that they recruited one kid, and then that kid turned into something else a few years down the road.
Sure.
So it's going, like she said, both ways.
So then it's the perfect storm where then COVID hits, and oh my God, everyone has this free second chance.
For 4 years, right? Or 5 years? Well, 4 classes of kids.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They're also part of that perfect storm was around the time when they changed the commitment
transfer portal.
They opened up where you could transfer without sitting out.
Yeah, so then that's the third element. That's the third element of the perfect storm is now I don't have a penalty of changing whether it's within conference or outside of.
Because I think the backstory was someone sued the NCAA.
Yeah.
And the NCAA figured out like, okay, we can't win this lawsuit. Yeah. So that's why they got forced to allow the transfer rule.
Right.
And it's 1 year, right? Or it's
you get a one-time transfer without having to
sit out.
Except for when the perfect storm thing happened, you get an extra year
on top of
it.
Yeah.
And then there's some schools like Ivy's don't allow you to stick around for a 5th year.
And that's what a lot of people don't know either.
Right.
Is you do 4
years. Which opened a can of worms.
Yep.
Because then they said, okay, well, we're going to have to
go somewhere else.
We're going to have to let these kids that have an extra year of eligibility go play somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that for them, you got to do it for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And then some of the universities and colleges said, well, we've enjoyed you for 4 years, but we don't want you for your 5th year.
Yep.
And it might not even be we didn't want you, but I have these other kids coming in that I didn't plan in my future to have these extra bodies.
Yep.
Right.
So it's a
lot of it's been chaotic.
It's so
been
many
so
things
chaotic.
at one time, and again, you hear a lot of outside noise and conversation, but there is so much behind that time period where it's not just the COVID year, right? Yeah. It's the changing of the recruiting. It's all of it.
Yeah. And what I try to tell parents and kids too is it's just different now, right? Because now the transfer portal, a school might say, hey, we don't have room for you, but then in 4 months, they don't know that a kid's going into the transfer portal. Yeah. So that spot might be open, or vice versa
they have to hold back.
Yeah.
Teams have to hold back.
Yeah, they have to hold back on their recruiting
because they don't know what's going to be in the portal.
Is a goalie going to come into the portal
from
another school that's older?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's changed the whole landscape of they can't really the first tier kids obviously are going to go, right? Yeah. But it's maybe the second, third tier kids now. They're going to wait for maybe a transfer portal.
Right.
Yeah.
Which what are the dates of the portals? Do you mean like what is?
It's
open most of the year, but not
Sunday or Monday.
But can you transfer mid-year?
No.
Can you transfer? No,
it's closed. I think
it's closed.
No. Well,
but then it's only open till May, right? And then it closes, right? There's some goofy dates.
I'm gonna be honest. During the season, like we're not involved in transfer portal. Yeah. It's like it really opens up
in the spring.
Maybe it's the Monday after the conference tournaments.
Okay.
The conference championship. So that's also a weird element is if teams make it far in playoffs, you're also playing the portal game while playoffs are going on. And you're like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they dealt with in the football, right? With the bowl games.
Yeah.
Where 11 players players were just in the portal. So then they can't play.
And then it's closed May 1.
Oh, and then it's closed May 1.
Yeah. Okay. So you basically have most of March and April to get your name in.
Okay. So that's what I was wondering.
Name has to be in.
Yep.
So like say I put my name in April 31. Well, people can talk to me in May.
Okay.
But your name
has to be in there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when I'm just asking these questions, for people out there that are wondering, because everything is
the wild, wild
changing.
west.
It's the wild, wild west.
It's going to change every
while.
But if they wonder about the portal.
Yeah. But then, so let's say a kid goes into the portal, right, on April 31st. Are they done with that school? Do you know what I mean? Or is that up to
It's up to the school.
Yeah, school, right?
It's up to the school. I would say in most cases of what I've heard, you're done.
You're done. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But they could take you back.
Oh, like going back?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say I'm a kid that wants to leave.
Yeah.
Nothing better comes along. It's
only
up
if
to
you're
the
only
coach.
if you're one of the top players,
Yeah,
and
no,
they
I
would
know,
want you
but I'm
back.
just saying,
Right.
But it's also like a weird thing
Of
like
course it is.
You
Yeah,
didn't
but
want
I'm
to
just
be
like,
you didn't
most
want to
coaches,
come back.
Most coaches would say you gave me the finger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But, so do you do most of the? Are you doing a lot of recruiting too?
Yeah. Yep.
That was part of the reason you were overseas, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Definitely during season, like Coach Muzz stays with the team always. Maybe there's a few things she'll stop at if like we're in Minnesota a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe like a Thursday night or something, you go out and see a game. But she definitely stays with the team all the time during the season. And then me and our other assistant, Peter, will go out to stuff during the year. But during the summer, I mean, all of us are all over the place.
it's a busy, there's lots of showcases, lots of camps, lots of.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it. I love the recruiting part. It's fun because back to the whole discussion of the portal versus recruits, the reality is now it's very much so a pro sports model where your recruits are draft picks and your recruits are free agents. And now that's our job to plan for all of that and have the pieces together. And so I think also a myth that's kind of out there is, oh, well, this school takes so many portal kids, you'll never play because a transfer will come in. Well, no, we only have so many spots,
Right.
So
every school,
it's in our offices, you have years mapped out. So you always kind of know where you're at. So you're never going to make decisions where, oh, well, you have your recruits and because we got portal kids, you'll never play. Well, no, it's part of the whole puzzle. So that's where on college coaches' side now is
that's probably where you like the business side of it.
Oh God, yeah. And how your scholarships are going to be divvied out and all of that. So, I would say that is a myth people don't need to worry about. Is if you're being recruited, you're part of the plan.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be recruiting you.
Yeah, or like, why would we bring you in if you
weren't part of the plan?
Yeah.
So being from Minnesota, do you recruit more in Minnesota, or they send you to Minnesota, or?
I think me and Ma's kind of divide and conquer Minnesota. Obviously, with Winnie here and a lot of our friends, we always like to come to Minnesota. And I think recruiting, I would say this, like, Minnesota is so special and unique. And I think sometimes people in Minnesota, like, that's all you know. And so you kind of get lost in all of it.
You mean the people and the players?
Yeah. They forget how lucky.
Oh, God. I mean, the fact that every city has a rink and a team and a program, like, that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world.
Right.
The whole world. Like, we're not even talking within U.S., but world. And I think Minnesota, again, like, you have every resource so close to your house to be able to succeed. And that does not happen anywhere.
Right.
But I think, again, going back to being at the U18s, and I recruit all over the map.
AAA hockey. And
Canada, hockey. You're Sweden, you see all the kids all over the place. Is that next evolution of where does the physicality in Minnesota now, where do you enter that? Because the way training is all over now is everyone's skilled, right?
Everyone can shoot,
all of that. So how do you keep separating?
Right. It's more the grit and the passion.
And all of that, where I see in Minnesota the amount of good players, there is no quantity like that. Toronto, there's a good quantity. Yep. But again, those kids might have to drive an hour to practice. Mm-hmm. It's not, let me hop in my car. I got to be at the rink in 10 minutes.
Right.
And
they're not playing with their classmates.
Right, yeah.
You're not playing with your friends you grew up with. Right. Like, Minnesota is so unique in that, that I think.
And you can get to the top level of hockey. Do you know what I mean?
Because
look at Heisey and Zummy.
Oh, God,
just tearing up the professional world.
Yeah. Will there ever be junior hockey in women's hockey, like
possibly
in between high school and college?
I think
you never
that's
know.
an interesting thing too, because now with this pro league, like, how fast can you get new organizations? Or
and look at the Swedes. What you're saying is they're playing with older women in the professional league, right?
You can't expand the pro league without enough talent.
Well, and that's
the more if you expand too fast, eventually you're going to be diluting the level of play.
Yep.
Yeah, and so eventually, is there going to have to be a buffer where after college there's not room for me yet in the league, but I'm good enough, I just need some time? Or is it a junior league? Yeah,
where you develop, you buy yourself a year. That's the thing about boys hockey.
To
our
develop
son, he
more.
went and played 2 years. He had to develop. He had to put on some weight.
Yeah,
no one believed in him, and that's just the hockey system for on the boys side, right? But they get to go and develop, and they
continue.
Get to scratch their way to a college program.
Or is it like a hybrid model where it's a juniors and AHL mixed, where maybe like a team's drafted me, but they're not ready for me, or
who's going to pay for that?
Yeah. Joe Mama.
Yeah.
The Joe Mama League.
The Joe Mama minor league.
Yeah, it sounds
development
good.
league. Yeah. No, all right.
Yeah,
all
but
right.
it would take someone that financially wants to take that leap.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Minnesota, going back to Minnesota, like, what I see is, even like from when I went through OS and Winnie stuff, is the top, you always have those skilled top players, right? Like, we had them in our class. You mentioned Heisey. Everyone's got that top group.
But it's that next.
But I would say
to develop.
The middle has become a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Where, maybe when we only could put together 1 or 2 Whitecaps teams, or 1, 2, 3 elite league teams.
Yep.
Now you can put together
at younger
8.
age.
You can put together
younger
8.
ages. Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
So it's like the amount that have gotten better, that pool is a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's where it gets hard, where people are like, how do I get to a Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio State? How do I get to those schools? Well, the top is really good. And so I think that's the discussion to have. Like in Minnesota, again, you have all the resources. It's not a lack of opportunity or resource, but how do we make sure our top talent is evolving with the rest of the world, right? And that's the next element that the rest of the world is getting, that you see when you go to these U18s and whatnot. You know, you see girls from the Czech rubbing you out and hitting you, and they know how to, you know, so what is that top tier doing? And then how do we bring that back so our girls are staying on that track?
On that track,
Yeah.
So remind me when you graduated from the U of M.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're getting out a little ways.
So she was playing with like Kelly Panic.
Oh, yeah. That's right. One of your best friends is Kelly Panic.
Yep. Lee Steckline, Hannah Brandt, Melitza McMillan, they were all the year ahead of me.
Yeah.
I was there the year Kess made her comeback midway through the year.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I'm Ramsey. We had crazy talent.
And it was primarily Minnesota kids.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
teams
right.
But you guys are tough.
Yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing too, is like me and Winnie have talked about it. Like we didn't have, again, the pool of like just my age group skating together. We had to skate with Bonna, Ramsey, Lawrence, who are 2 years older than us, just because we didn't have the numbers.
Enough numbers for their age group.
Yeah.
To just there wasn't 20 of them, right?
Right.
You mean to get good ice
with
good players?
Yeah, to get good players
quality,
and to be pushed. And I think, to be honest, you're going to see the college game continue to elevate now because of this pro league with these 6 teams, right? Because every team is going to maybe have a player or two that wants to play in that league.
Yeah.
It's not just playing on the U.S. team or Team Canada, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have these kids, and all you need is a couple, right?
Yeah.
On any girls' team.
Oh, yeah.
And if you have 2 that are trying to get to the top, the other ones are just going to kind of
follow,
and they're going to pull them with them, right? So I think that's the biggest thing with the women's direction, it's going.
Are girls hockey players, female hockey players, the same as you guys were when you were in college, or have they changed?
I think they're more skilled.
Well, okay.
Maybe not as smart. But the things some of these players can do, you're like...
Oh, yeah. The skills
for sure.
Well, I mean, every 6-year-old kid is doing the Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm like, you ask any of... If I would have coached you guys back in
Oh,
the day,
my
I don't
God.
know. I don't know if one of them could have done it. But they're all on the Olympic team and winning national championships, right? So it just...
Are they as crazy as you guys, is what I meant.
Are
they as nutty?
No.
Well, you guys keep the clamps on them.
There's my generation
I hear
to
you
her
guys,
generation.
I heard Muzz keeps the clamps on them at OSU.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our team has no shortage of, a little
yeah, I'm
crazy,
sure, but you keep them
which kind of is a segue to my next question about
some serious rules about staying out and staying past your bedtime and things like that. Don't you have some tight?
We're just having that combo.
Right, yeah, we're just
what were you talking about? Oh, what you guys did
the After Hours podcast. No, but I
come on! I played in the NHL in the '90s. What do you think was going on?
We won't beat yours.
Yeah, that's true.
We won't definitely beat yours.
And I think you go back to the question of recruiting. To be honest with you, and this is, maybe parents take this down too, is when I go to games, right? I get there early, right? See all of that.
Warm-ups you're watching.
During the game, of course I'll watch your shifts, but there are games I watch the bench more than I watch the ice.
Yeah.
Right?
Body language.
Yeah. How are you on the bench with yourself? Right? That's element 1. How are you on the bench with your teammates? Element 2. How are you on the bench when your coach is giving you something? Yeah. So like a lot of times I will watch the bench more than I watch the game. And then after the game, that's a whole nother beast,
like I always tell kids, they're always watching.
Yeah, when they
like
come
that
out of the
movie,
game and stuff.
Oh,
Monster Inc.
Everything. And a lot of times too, maybe I won't wear something OSU.
You don't have to.
I'll just be wear something.
I thought there was kind of a rule that if you're in the house, you should display your logo.
Yes and no.
Oh, you guys bend the rules a little bit.
Well, it might wear it underneath, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Jack, yeah.
But like I'll go sit in the middle of a parent section.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you get to hear the comments.
Oh yeah. Again, recruiting is a full 360 lens of everything.
It's not just about what your kid does on the ice.
Yeah.
But do you have the philosophy you're recruiting the kid, not the parents? Or, I mean, the parents don't have any say in it anyway.
Yes and no.
I mean, they're not calling you up saying, play my kid more.
Yeah. And, well, I would say I think that's kind of like a team by team philosophy.
Yeah.
For us, like, if we're taking in your kid, we're taking in your whole family. You know,
because
type of
the
thing.
parents are going to be in the stands with the other parents, and if they're a pain in the ass, then it's a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, to go back to the, you know, like a Josie example is some of Josie's best qualities don't have to do with the on-ice skill, right? And back to your question about OSU and how our girls are is they are competitors through and through in everything in their life. You know, like they want to succeed, they want to win, they're passionate, and they'll just do whatever it takes, you know? And so that has nothing to do with if you can do the Michigan. It has nothing to do if you can go bar down.
Right.
Yeah, like how you are in competition or how you are
when no one's looking.
Yeah, in practice.
Are you working out?
You know, like Winnie knows I've showed up to OS skates before to watch how they are at the OS skate. So how are you all the time? And again, at the college level, at any level, like you can be taught skills. You can be taught those things. But
well, you guys work on it a lot.
Yeah, like I can't teach you to want to win so bad.
Right.
That you will do anything.
Or they're just showing up, right? Because I know Liz Shepherds, who played at Ohio State and who's now doing a great job for the PWHL Minnesota team. I just remember being at a spring league at Bloomington Ice Garden, and she was there, and she was the only upperclassman senior captain there with her teammates. Yeah. And I was like, oh, where's, you know, some of your buddies?
Yeah.
You know, she's just a rink rat. And
well, it's interesting the way you're talking, and is you sound exactly the way a men's coach, you know, would talk about their players, what they expect of them, right? And I wonder if you know, if you went back when women's college hockey first started, you know, they were probably just happy to have a program, or when you guys got recruited, when you got recruited, you were just getting recruited because you were good, and you probably were passionate and you were competitive. But nowadays, when you sit down with a player, you basically challenge them, I'm sure, and say, "Are you willing to do any effing thing? Like, are you gonna go through a
block
wall?
That shot? Yeah,
right.
Yep. It's because the little things that make the difference, right? I mean, in the big games,
well, for sure.
Winning or losing.
Because that's the thing. Like,
it's a winning mentality.
At the end of the day, like, you can go down people's roster now. And again, the development of women's hockey has been so fast. You go down rosters, it's like you can go toe to toe for anyone. And when it comes down to big games, it's the mental part that's going to put a team one way or the other.
For sure. And your culture and your all that.
And expectation.
Another question that, you know, people always wonder probably is about scholarships. And how you guys manage them, how you divide them, kind of what your philosophy is. Obviously, if you've got a world-class Olympic caliber player, they probably get a full scholarship, right? But not everyone gets a full scholarship. But I don't know, like, or do players start on a quarter and work their way up to a half? Talk about that a little bit.
That probably happens more in all of college hockey. That's a good question with all the teams, right?
Right. No, because everyone always thinks,
like, it's always a full ride.
He or she committed to school X,
so-and-so,
and they just sort of assume that, they got a full ride. That's not the case.
No. And you can work into it, or you could be a recruited red shirt, right, and work your way
and
up
earn
to a
money.
full ride. Just being a good leader.
I don't know if you can even
well, I think,
out how
again,
to talk
everyone's
about that.
kind of philosophies are different. Like from an NCAA standpoint, right, teams get allotted, you know, X amount of scholarships. But like in football, it's you get a full or nothing. In ice hockey, we can divide amongst any percent.
Can you guys stack?
I didn't know that. So football, it's all or nothing?
Yeah, football's all or nothing.
I didn't know that. Can you guys stack financial aid? Or
so like you could get like academic money, you know.
Because some places can stack and some places can't.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, like sometimes like maybe you get 50 from athletics, 25 from academics. So your money could come from different buckets.
Yeah, and if you're a smart kid getting that academic, that helps the whole pool, right? Because then you can use that athletic go to someone else.
Right,
because
right. Like if you get 25 from
grades
academic,
are so important.
That 25 can go somewhere else. Yeah.
Right, which makes a player, so kids out
more
there
valuable,
and
be
parents,
smart.
it makes the player more attractive, right? Because if you find that out, you're like, we can give you 25 and you can get 25 from academic, scholarship. Then, we're up to 50.
Right.
That starts to look pretty good.
And
what you're only out 25%.
Yeah. And what is it at the Big Ten schools that if you get a certain
cost
GPA?
Of GPA.
We could talk about that later. But GPA,
it's getting later,
where you can get like a 90% scholarship, or do you mean like based on your test scores? But I don't know if
no, that's what I was thinking. I thought you were talking about cost of tuition or cost of attendance.
Yeah, cost of attendance.
That's a little bit different than what I was talking about.
That's
but it was like
stipend.
if you get like back in the day. I know this is before you guys were there, but
we're getting in the weeds on academic scholarship
because it's important though, right?
Because
there's so many many kids that there's so many academic opportunities that they forget about, or they just put all their eggs in the basket of playing hockey.
Yeah,
where it's if you get, and I don't know, do schools even take ACT tests anymore since COVID? Right? That's goofy too, because back in the day you had to get a certain score. Yeah. So anyway, back before you and Coach Mazzaral were there. I thought there was, if you got like a 32 or 33 on your ACT, you qualified for some certain grant from the school.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? So there's things that way that people
and I don't know if every school's different. I know at OSU they offer something like, it's called like Buckeye Scholar or something, where it's like in a certain parameter, you can get a chunk of academic money.
Based on certain grade point averages or all that stuff. So I'm just saying, as parents out there, look into those things, because it's not just the hockey that,
that might be
going to
part
be opportunity,
of everything. Yeah. For
so
sure.
And just ask questions.
Is Ohio State getting a new arena?
I hope so. There's plans for it, and blueprints and all that floating around. So I don't know specifics, but it's definitely in the works.
Talked about.
Probably you're due a new rink for the caliber of play that you have.
Yeah, for the men and women.
Does the men need a new one too, kind of? I don't.
Would they play in that one?
I don't think they would play.
No, okay, so they'd still play.
They'd still play. Yeah, they play in like a combo basketball, hockey arena. So I don't think they would play in ours, but probably practice. It's just the setup now. But yeah, I mean, there's also an element to our rink right now that it's not fancy. It's not
gritty.
glitzing. Yeah,
gritty.
it is. And
gritty.
it's a hard place to play.
It is a hard place to play. I remember playing in that place.
Well, you seem to be recruiting over it or around it. And so.
And I mean, I think that's an element too of like Muzz is through and through a very blue collar, hard work person. And for us, if you don't come to our rink because it's not pretty enough, you're probably not going to be a good fit for us.
Right.
Like it's a very work hard attitude. And if you can't play somewhere because of prettiness, it's probably not a personality match.
Well, yeah. And I said that. I mean, St. Thomas doesn't have their rink yet. They will have a new rink. But, people are getting recruited at first when St. Thomas had their program going. And if they're like, well, their rink kind of sucks because it's a high school rink, whatever, I'd be like,
it's a hockey rink. The ice is
You're playing
the same,
Division
right?
I hockey at St. Thomas.
St. Thomas,
Give your head a shake. Don't worry about. Besides, you play half your games on the road,
and
so you'll be playing in other nice buildings,
other rinks.
Yeah.
Like our mentality, but that's our generation of just give me a rink.
Yeah,
I mean, I had chicken wire at the county rinks.
They go to recruiting. I know, chicken wire, right? Recruiting trips.
Wasn't even plexiglass, people, and I'm like,
God.
And we were just.
So we were also talking about the name of the pod, Celly Hard.
Yeah.
And just for people, we haven't mentioned it, but the reason it became Celly Hard is because Winny had a bone to pick with girl hockey players, not Celly.
When does Winny not have a bone to pick?
I know,
I know if there was
solutions,
a milk box or whatever, she'd get up on it. But so what's your opinion on Cellying hard? Did you Celly hard or like?
Oh yeah.
What is there any? Yeah. Do you ever see a player Celly and you're like, ooh, that's either not appropriate or.
But you played
like
with the boys. Were the boys Celly? I mean,
do your girls Celly Hard now at OSU or?
I think they could Celly harder. It's not, you know, sometimes I tell them that, but
so you're all for it.
I was at Jefferson when Kennedy was still Kennedy and Jefferson was Jefferson.
With Crawley and those guys.
In our crosstown games, I'd go up to their stands and give them.
Did
give
ya?
them the. Oh God, yeah.
That's been that's.
Yeah.
This is from that
From
long
watching.
ago. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I even still have face.
My son does that one a
yeah.
lot too. He
Yeah.
does this one.
Yeah, give them one of these.
To the opposing crowd.
You
or
have
I
whatever.
still
to.
remember Muzzy's Celly in college.
Oh
Oh,
God, yeah. You got to get a
It's
clip
awesome.
of that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
She's pumping it.
Yeah.
I mean, see, I love when people Celly, maybe because I was a D and I just liked watching my
it?
teammates.
'Cause
Maybe
you
I just
weren't-
liked
'cause you
watching
weren't
Muzzy Celly.
You were just watching him
Yeah,
score.
I just,
you
you
set
know,
him up.
I set him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I set him up and I'm like,
yeah.
I'll set you up. You
it's
knock
awesome.
it
It's
in.
fun. Knock it in.
Yeah.
I'm going to get fired up.
Yeah. But you do
You
see
know?
on the boys' side, man, like they go hard.
Oh,
They
yeah.
sell the girls. I'm like, why are you guys so reserved and like being weird about this?
Melita
Like,
McMillan was one of the best
oh yeah.
hockey Celly.
Well, I sent you a text
people
the other day, and it
in
might
all
have
of
been
high school
Josie
hockey.
St. Martin. I think she sellied pretty hard on one of her goals at the tournament
Oh, yeah.
in Switzerland.
She gave an
Yeah, she did
eagle.
the
She gave an
swan.
eagle.
the swan.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the swan from Kunetsov or whatever.
Oh,
From,
yeah, the
from,
bird.
The bird.
The bird,
She
yeah.
did that.
Okay, that's actually awesome
Yeah,
because
we'll have to-
I did a junior Celly league with like U12s, U10s, and U8s.
This fall.
Yep, and I gave every team a Celly name. Right,
Oh.
so we had the gritty team
Yeah.
and all this. So
Okay.
every time the girls scored, they
heartbreaker.
did, the heartbreaker.
Heartbreak, yeah.
Yep, they did that. Yep.
That's hilarious.
And so all of them.
Oh, after
had
they
to do
scored,
that,
they had
yeah.
to do their
They had to
Celly.
do their Celly
Oh,
for their team. It was
that's
actually
pretty
so
cool.
fun, and
Yeah.
and the girls loved it.
Yeah.
Forces
Even
them-
if they were losing, they were
Yeah.
still
they
selling.
still would Celly. Oh yeah.
But I think like it's also
It's entertainment,
Don't-
right?
oh,
Like
it's
you said.
entertainment, but
Yes.
don't forget, like, don't ever get so used to scoring that you don't have excitement about it.
right.
Like you scored. You scored.
Yeah.
Like you
Maybe
should be
because
so
we're
excited.
defenders
Oh my
that
god,
we-
yeah. I'm like, oh
We
my
just
god.
watched all of you guys score goals, so like our
Yeah.
defensive excitement is watching the Celly because
Yeah.
we're the D that's stopping everything.
Yeah, I
so,
know. Yeah,
no.
like
It's always
never
in front
never
of you.
take a goal.
Yeah, it's always in
never take
front.
a goal for granted. But I do think like, and again, that's the evolution of women's hockey and where we probably need to start to go. But like for me, I think of sports as like it's not sports. It's an entertainment. It's a show. It's a production.
Yeah.
You know, and in the NHL, you have your stars, right? You have your Bedards, your McDavids, but you have villains, your Bergeron, you know, these people where there's storylines, there's characters, there's all of this where on the women's side, we have to start to develop that. And again, love her, hate her, whatever, it's like Abby Murphy, you got to give her credit,
Yeah.
right? Like she's got personality. She's got,
She's going to be
She
the
wins
villain.
games.
yeah, like you're a villain, whatever you are.
She's
And
the
embrace
Marchand,
it.
isn't she? She's kind of the Marchand of
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Marchand.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But
Bergeron was just classy captain guy.
yeah. I meant Marchand. I meant.
I
yeah.
know you did. I know
Yeah,
you did.
yeah.
Good catch there.
But yeah, you
I would've
got to
never
start
caught
to
that.
like. You have to start to have that personality, and people are
'Cause
interested.
that's what people are going to watch.
Yeah,
That's
or
what they
like-
want to see.
Yeah,
Whether
y-
they
y-
want to see it or not.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's
You know, and it
what gets
puts-
people talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, look, I worked in the junior. I worked in the North American Hockey League for a couple years
Yeah.
in St. Cloud, and you know, we went the route of because it's Minnesota, and most Minnesota fans like the classic hockey, right? Skill-based hockey and everything. But
Yeah.
you know, some junior towns, those people are coming out to have a couple beers and
Yeah.
see some fights.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, it's a little barbaric, and that's not what hockey's totally about. But
Yeah.
look, the only time people get out of their seats in a hockey game is when there's a goal
Yeah.
and when there's a fight.
Yeah.
And half the time, it's the women are standing up too because they like
Right.
to fight.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, and we're not promoting fighting,
No.
but just that, you know, that skirmishes or
The
chirping
emotions,
or
right?
whatever.
It's getting the emotions.
Yeah, I mean,
going.
you got to get
people
under
care.
under their skin, and
Yeah.
so yeah, maybe more of that down
Yeah.
the road in women's
Yeah,
hockey. It
for
would
sure.
be something good, but it's entertainment.
Yeah.
What did you? Well, you were gone. You must have been gone when the Minnesota P-Dub team had. How many fans did we have?
Oh, God.
13,000.
13,000,
yeah.
which was pretty
13,000
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
cool.
actually didn't fully adjust to the time change while I was there, so it was like 2 a.m, and I had the YouTube
Oh, you
stream
were
up,
watching?
and yeah. And
Cool.
back to your point of like the accessibility of watching that league, on the YouTube stream, there's a live chat. So I'm in that chat and I see people like, I'm in China, I'm in Australia, you know, like there's people all over the world watching.
They're interested.
You know, you've got another 17,000 people just on the YouTube.
Right.
You know, that's not even counting the Bally Sports people.
Right. That's going to help the commercialization of it, right? Where they can start selling more ads and things like that. Sponsorship.
And I think the cool thing too about the league and whatnot is the fan base, and it's women's sports in general, right? Is it was cool to see at those games, it's women showing up for the women's sports,
absolutely.
you know, or bringing your young daughters or whatever. It's not just, oh, well, we need to pluck every male Wild fan over to be the fan of this team. Well, it's like, yeah, like hopefully any hockey fan just wants to watch hockey, boy or girl.
Or me taking my 2 boys.
Yeah, but
it's good hockey.
Dads
right?
can take daughters, right?
For sure.
Father, daughter.
Yep.
Yeah,
or
but
mothers.
Like,
and
not
sons.
every fan needs to be a male.
No,
you know. And so I think it was cool to see, like, in the crowd, and a lot of my friends were there, of like how many females showed up for the female sport. And I think that league will get a lot of female fans, and maybe they didn't play hockey, but they love the sport or they love to watch it. That I think these teams can grow a really cool female fan base that also, you know, there's men mixed into it too.
Yeah, and like you said about watching, right? That's so huge in sports, is just kids watching. My kids don't even play football, and it's like their favorite sport.
Yeah.
And I swear it's because of the celebrations and all the stuff that they do.
You're right. Right.
You know, it's the entertainment of it. I'm like, you don't know, you've never really played football, but you know every play, and I'm like, you know every position, and I'm like,
you're more excited to see them gritty after
but it's
a touchdown.
Oh,
they want to
absolutely.
see all
they
that
want to
stuff.
see all that stuff, you know, and that's what draws them in.
Yeah.
Kids are goofy.
Yeah. Oh, kids. Yeah. But this is where now we have women that are we have access to watch them all over, right? And so hopefully more girls are like, I want to be like that girl.
Oh God,
I can do it.
And that's the power of social
media
too. It's back to the thing of, well, let's learn how to use it in a good way. Everything's gonna have its blessing and curse to it, but from a social media standpoint,
find the positive.
Now I'm scrolling on my Instagram, TikTok, and I see Taylor Heisey's goal highlight.
Top shelf goal,
You know, and so now that next younger generation, boys and girls, will mix into that. Well, now there's gonna be clips of females, and they're just gonna be used to it.
Yeah. And this is, to be honest, how Canada was 20 years ago when we were in Canada. I remember being in an autograph line, and Haley Wickenheiser and the Oval Extreme was on the other side, and it was like lined up for Haley Wickenheiser because she was on Chef Boyardee, like, you know, Billboard. She was just like an icon to the boys and girls. She was just I mean, she was the same.
Their Olympians are like, you know, the top half of their Olympians are superstars.
Superstars in Canada.
Yeah.
And so hopefully one day, you know.
Well, and it's cool too. Like, I was talking with Josie the other day, and in Stillwater, she does like some shooting.
She talked about it on the pod.
And like she's got little boys coming because it's like she's a great shooter, a great shot, and like, I don't care if you're a girl or a boy. Like, I want to learn.
And the parents know, like, she can rip the puck. Because every dad's like, she could shoot it
harder than Is she like the leading scorer over there this year?
Or I don't know the update after yesterday's games.
She's close.
But she was up there for sure.
She's probably one of the best forwards in the tournament right now.
She'll be getting more business in her shooting school.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's wind down here. Unless you have something else you wanted to ask. You're playing the Gophers this weekend. Big Tilly.
Yeah.
How you guys coming into it or approaching it, or what's the vibe?
You guys are Ohio 1, Minnesota 2.
Yep. So 1 versus 2, and
smash mouth hockey. You're gonna hit them.
Oh God, yeah. And I heard Minnesota's doing a promotion Friday, Saturday where you can bring a high school team for free.
So
a lot of high school girls.
So it'll be crowded.
Hopefully fill up.
It'd be packed anyway.
Packed house. So for us, I mean, our girls are really excited. They haven't had a game since before winter break, so they're probably like 5 weeks. So they're itching. They're itching bad. They're itching bad. Play a game. But no, back to the point of you go down rosters and you're deep. You know, so it's a line by line battle, and that's the thing too now about women's hockey, that people are starting to get used to, that it's still new, is people don't run 1-2 lines anymore. The talent and the depth. Now we can play a 4-line model where, right, you're playing that way. So it's fun, on these matchups where your whole bench is in. It's a chess match. Everyone's involved.
Pace stays up all game.
Oh God, yeah. So
it's intense.
It's always fun games against Minnesota. So. And
on your roster, any Minnesotans? I don't know your roster.
Yeah, we've got.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
Peschel on defense.
Sloan
players.
Sloan Matthews from Wyzetta. Kenzie Hausworth grew up in Farmington. Kinger. Kelsey King.
So you got a handful.
I'm probably
Delaney Fleming.
Delaney. Yep, she's Rochester. So.
No, if you forgot someone, it's not intentional. And
they'll probably just punch me when I get back. No, there's always talent in Minnesota. But our roster also is built from people from
Olivia
all over.
Mobley.
Mobes. Yeah.
Shout out
she transferred
Mobley.
though. She transferred over, right? Or did she go there straight?
She transferred. Yep. Kinger, Kenzie were transfers. Sloan and Pesh were straight out of high school.
'Cause they're sophomores.
Yep. But it's again the
you have
Gophers are
Canadians. Do you have, and what European countries? Do you have some Europeans?
Right now no, but we've got 3 Sweden girls coming in.
Okay.
Yep. So we're up and down. We have some Toronto kids, some Vancouver area, a goalie from Winnipeg. So and even within the U.S., kids from all over, right? Some St. Louis kids, Philly, Texas, so you've got some Michigan girls. So
it's all over.
Always a blend. Yeah, and that to the point where all the areas are getting better, which is good for women's hockey overall. So it's just continuing to find ways to stay on top, So that's Winnie's job here in Minnesota, luckily. And she does a great job at it. And she's got great relationships with people to hear different perspectives and take that in. And how do I implement that in her training? So, it's one of those things where trust in the people that are getting that feedback, and how do I make sure I'm protecting, my group around here and making sure they develop and stay with the times. So Winnie's always done a great job of that.
Well, thank you, Kelsey. Yeah. Gosh, wasn't expecting that.
Well, so. I don't have anything else really to
that was
awesome. And I think it was a lot of fun to just wing it as we did, and talked about some good things with the youth hockey and the Worlds and professional hockey and your career. Good luck with with your masters and your pursuits.
I'm
not going to say good luck this weekend.
We don't get, Buckeye fans are a great fan base, very passionate fan base, but we also have a lot of haters. So you love the haters as much. The haters fuel you, just as much as the ones that love you.
Hey,
so
I live in Edina. My kids were.
Oh yeah, so you know it.
My kids got lots of hate coming their way. So.
All right. Well, thank you.
It's all good. Yeah. Thank you, Kelsey,
coming on here, because I know you guys are busy. So.
So this has been the Celly Hard podcast. Tom Chorsky signing off with Winnie Brote from the Cub Content Studios.